Hi poets, Emily here for the Sustainability blog, and I'm with Dr. James Galloway from the University of Virginia. He's a biogeochemist, correct?
I am.
And also a Whittier College alum from 1966. So I wanted to ask you if you could briefly tell us about your findings in the nitrogen cycle and about the website you created for individuals to find out their footprint.
Sure, Emily. So for many years I've been just studying sort of the basic environmental chemistry of nitrogen, how people use it, what happens when it gets released to the environment, the atmosphere, the streams and lakes and the oceans, and then what happens to the environment when it gets to its place, what are the negative environmental impacts. There's also a positive impact, and nitrogen helps us produce food. And I was just essentially sitting there doing lots of science, excuse me, and realizing that I was having a great time about this, and there were some issues, but that the broader public didn't really understand why nitrogen was so important and something they should be worried about. And so my colleagues and I talked about developing a nitrogen footprint model. You've probably heard of a carbon footprint model and an ecological footprint model. Well, we have a nitrogen footprint model where the person can actually go to the website and calculate how their own use of resources results in nitrogen losses to the environment and what those losses, what damages those losses might cause. And then the website also gives them the opportunity to say, well, if I change my behavior of resource use, whether it's energy or food, the amount of food or the type of food, how would that change my personal nitrogen footprint?
That's really neat. Have you done any studies to see how people react once they play around with those numbers and see if they do take any changes in their personal lives?
We have. We've done some playing with scenarios, both in my own research group, broadly defined, and also with individuals. And one of the people I work with, Allison Leach, is a vegetarian, and I'm not. And so we often contrast our own footprints for individual meals or for general, annual lifestyle, and then say, well, what would happen if Jim Galloway, stopped eating beef and only ate chicken? And what would happen if Allison Leach, ate more cheese instead of tofu? And so you can sort of see how, pretty simple decisions in your life can have a pretty big impact on your personal impact on the environment.
And I believe from one of your lectures you said that transportation was one of the biggest contributors of nitrogen. Transportation
can be a large contributor, but the main one is food production. Because you realize that when, at least for this country, when people consume food, they're actually consuming about 15 to 20% of the nitrogen used in that food production. So all that other stuff is lost to the environment before food is ever put on your plate. And so the question is, how can you decrease those nitrogen losses during food production? And then how can you, at the consumer level, how can you be smarter about not wasting food or smarter about eating only the amount of protein that you need? Because most people in the United States overconsume protein.
Okay, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about your role in the Environmental Protection Agency.
I was part of I was a member of the EPA's Science Advisory Board for 6 years, and that is the board that reports to the administrator of EPA. And EPA will often, agencies in EPA will often ask the Science Advisory Board to work on a specific topic. And every now and then the Science Advisory Board says, well, we have an idea, here's a topic that we think EPA should pay attention to. So I proposed a topic of nitrogen that was approved, and then for several years I worked on a committee, and for 5 of those years chaired the committee to investigate how nitrogen is being used within the United States, what the losses of the environment are, what those impacts are, and what society can do to reverse those impacts. And that report was just released in August of 2011.
Oh, really cool. I also understand you were a member of the chair of the International Nitrogen Initiative.
I was, and so that was something that I helped form in 2003. And we have regional centers in Europe and Africa, East Asia, South Asia, North America, and Latin America. And mostly it's centers where there's scientists who are working on nitrogen, and we try to work on similar problems using the same methodology. So you can take these different regional studies and combine them into a global picture.
Wow, You seem to be doing a lot to contribute to the environmental movement as a environmental scientist. So what do you see your role as an environmental scientist?
As an observer of the environment, how does the environment work from a scientific perspective? What's the impact of humans on the environment? What are the changes to the environment? And what are the consequences, environmental or human health consequences, of those changes? And then if society deems those changes to be serious, then what can society in turn do to decrease the severity of those impacts? But it's very much as an observer and a describer of environmental changes. Environmental scientists, I don't think, should become advocates for any particular course of action.
That's very interesting. Have you been able to see any of your work be applied to any kind of change in communities or the use of nitrogen?
Oh, I believe so. It's always a tough thing to ask a scientist, because of course they would like to say, of course it's been life-changing for the entire world.
Yeah.
Well, it's not been life-changing for the entire world, but the work of myself and my colleagues in describing how humans use nitrogen has been, I think, pretty effective at sort of setting the foundation from which more science can be done. In fact, actually policies can be put into place to address some of the issues related to nitrogen.
I understand that you have a 3 country-specific footprint
We do.
calculators as of now. Are you looking to expand?
Oh, we are actually. We have on the website we have calculators, nitrogen footprint calculators for the United States, for the Netherlands, and just posted this week was Germany. And we're now actively working for footprint calculators for a number of countries in Europe. One of my colleagues, Alison Leach, who just ran a workshop in London in December, when there were representatives from 9 other European countries, mostly Western European, who want to have calculators for their countries. And so they came, and over 2.5 days, we all worked together to see what the kind of data they needed to prepare their own nitrogen calculators for their countries. And this project was funded in part by the German government, because they were very interested in continuing this. And we're also working with people in China and in India and in Tanzania.
Wow, that's really great. So I'm curious, do you have any projections about Whittier College and the role that students could have in contributing to more sustainable efforts in the community?
I have lots of thoughts about how students in general at universities can contribute, and it goes beyond education in the classroom. I think students are having a real opportunity to get involved, and should get involved, in research activities, actually in the field, in the laboratory, because the next stage after, in this case, Whittier College, whether it's a graduate school or professional school or even the corporate world, these places are looking for students who have experience outside the classroom. Okay, you've been taking classes, you and your colleagues have been taking classes since kindergarten, so you know how to do that. But thinking about research and thinking about being creative is a different way it's a different mental analysis. I think Whittier College is also pretty well positioned to gather other schools, colleges of similar size in the area, and do some coordination about sustainability efforts, and even perhaps host a workshop here for sustainability representatives from other schools. And so Whittier has the potential to become a leader in that area.
Oh, that's great to hear. Do you have any advice? Because I know your road to becoming a biogeochemist wasn't a straight and narrow path.
It was not a straight and narrow path.
Do you have any advice for students who look for careers, or after they leave Whittier, what they can get themselves into?
Oh, try the crazy ideas. I mean, there's when at that stage of a person's life after they finish college, they have lots of time to sort of settle down. And so if somebody wants to become a cook in San Francisco, or do anything, that's the time of your life to try that. Because if you don't, and later on in life when you're sad or depressed or frustrated, you think, oh, well, if only I'd done that back then, I'd be a happier person. Of course, that's not a true statement, because we're all frustrated at certain times. But unless you do that, then you don't know. And also, I think it's really important for people, no matter what their age, to follow their passion. What are they really excited about? And when you're younger, you have a greater opportunity to do that.
Well, that's very beautiful. It's great. Well, thank you for coming.
Well, very nice.
visiting us,
Okay, very
your
nice to see
alma
you.
mater.
Yes, I'm delighted to be back here after all these years.
It's great to have you back.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for watching this interview.